Good morning. Great to start another week together and hope you're staying close to the Lord and being good to the crazies around you. We are in a mixed up world, that's for sure. We're going to be in Proverbs in a minute. And I just had a couple of thoughts today I want to throw out. First, thank you from Faith, you that are from Faith Baptist Church. Thank you for your faithfulness. Thanks for being a part of so much, for serving and giving. And this is Stewardship Month. And in regard to stewardship, time, talent, treasure, we all have some of each. We all have 168 hours, but a lot of those hours are eaten up with life. But does God get any of our time? Does God get any of our talents? What are we good at? And what can we accomplish? And does he get any of our treasure? And, the story of the widow's mite, such a great story because though she was poor, the 2 mites she put in, Jesus said she put in all her living. So she had to be very poor. And she put everything in. And that little story there is such a reminder that God loves sacrifice. God is honored. We think of someone who goes to war and dies for their country. We think that's wonderful. We think what a great sacrifice they made. The Medal of Honor winner is someone who goes beyond the call of duty. Usually, I don't know if it's always, but in my opinion, what I've read and seen, it's in saving others. I'm willing to risk my life to help you, or I'm willing to do this that's going to save a bunch of people. And we give honor to them. But would not God look at our sacrificial giving and count it an honor? Wouldn't it make God so, using human terms, obviously, so proud to call you his own, to see us do something sacrificial for him, whether it be, I just talking to one of my friends, and I was going to say who it is, but I don't know if he wants what he's doing to be on the internet, but he's leaving in a few days, and he's going to a war-torn part of India. And if you've not caught in the news, I don't watch the news, so I don't know what's on the news or not. But from my friends in the ministry, there's these peace-loving Hindus are burning churches and thousands of homes of people who've converted from Hinduism to Christianity, and the suffering and great hardship. Well, he's going into that area and helping get some people out, and he works with pastors and church members and those Christians. Those are great Christians. They're facing some very difficult times, and he is going into that to be a help to them. And I'm thinking he's close to my age, and I don't know if I'm physically ready to do what he's going to do, but don't you think God looks down into heaven at him and says, I'm so proud of that boy of mine who will put himself in harm's way for others. And now this thing of stewardship, to give our children, when our youngest and his wife and children are headed to Trinidad, and I assume that, and of course, they may not stay there their whole life. A lot of times people change fields and go to different places. Sometimes they work 20 years and come home and serve in a church here, a pastor in America. I know one very successful missionary who just felt like God wanted him back home, and he left Africa, and he's pastoring a church here in the States now. And so God moves people. But if my son and his wife and family would stay in Trinidad, it would shorten their life. That putting us in a tropical climate typically is hard on us, and we're soft Americans, in between sanitation and food and climate, that just wears. But my would not God be honored that a young couple who could serve in a church in America, that they would choose to say, I'm in, and if it costs me, God, it's okay. I'm giving to a good person. I'm doing this for the Creator, and so sacrifice. We talk about being a good steward, giving financially, and one of the things that we've talked about some is the importance of having a trust or a will, some kind of an estate. And people may differ, and I'm not the finance whiz, that's for sure. I've heard that a trust is safer or less trouble than a will, but a living trust. But I want to encourage you, have a plan. We've been handing out some guides for a home. We call it a homegoing guide. Part of it is for me as a pastor. Am I able to do your funeral and tell, this is when this person got saved, and this is when this person, they taught Sunday school for these years. And I was talking to an older couple, both gone to heaven now, and I didn't really come across their path till they were pretty old and didn't get out much at all. Well, I found out that he'd been their church's Sunday school superintendent for a long, long time. Not a paid staff member, but he just was so involved, and I didn't know that. And so sometimes things written down, something written down helps your spouse. Where are the keys to the locked up storeroom or whatever? What's the combination to the safe? And you have a safe deposit box. I've never had one of those, but you have that. What bank is it in, and where's the key to it? And all these things. If you're gone, have something on paper. Your spouse is already grieving. Don't leave your spouse unable to know what to do or where things are, and passwords and codes and all that stuff. The deeds to property or the title to cars. Put stuff in a place so it's all, even people who have a living trust. Does anybody know where it is? Can anybody find that thing? And so it's nice to get a couple of copies and leave one with a child if you have an adult child, or the executor, and those kind of things. So we talk about being a good steward. One of the things about being a good steward is to plan and to take care of that day that will come. Barring the trumpet, we're going to bury each other. One of the other of us is going to go first. And of course, people think that's morbid. I think the one who goes to heaven first they got the good deal. It's the one who stays behind, has to be lonely and has to care for all the details. They got the hard job. The one who goes on to heaven, and there you go, done. Don't have to worry about anything. But let's be good stewards. Let's be good stewards. I hope you'll think. Again, I said this the other day, but put God in your will or your trust. Something needs to be sold. Why not? Whatever, dividing up this way and that way. Why not put your church in whatever church you go to in? We got 2 kids. So let's put the church and 2 kids. Let's divide the estate in thirds and give each one a third or whatever. I just want you to consider God. That's the money that will go with you. They say you can't take it with you. No, but you can send it ahead. And if you have it in your will, then when you die, you can take it with you because it's going to follow you right up there. And God will give you credit. He knows what's going on. So anyway, I want to just take a moment or two this morning and talk about Proverbs 1 and Proverbs 9. If you look at Proverbs 1:7, it says, "The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and instruction." The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and instruction. And then in Proverbs 9, verse 10, it says, "The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and the knowledge of the holy understanding." So what you have here, the fear of the Lord is tied to knowledge, wisdom, and instruction. Now, my question is, how did we get this stupid? How did we get this stupid? Let's just think through this thing. How about we've spent 2.5 to 3 years with vaccinations and mask mandates and stay-home mandates and on all this crazy mandatory stuff. And they're saying, we got to do it again. So obviously what they didn't work. Now, I'm not a scholar and I'm not a doctor, but I'll say this. Whatever they did in those couple of years, it did not stop COVID. And if COVID ever was as much of a problem as they said it was, but if they did, those mandates didn't fix it. So why would we do it again? Why would we think it would be any different if we did it again? Why would Anyway, that's just one of many stupids. We closed down our schools and churches and businesses and did irreparable harm to society. And it didn't stop it. We have, and then, the question, how did we get this stupid? The idea that we would do it. I remember that old saying when I was a kid, I'd heard often, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. And the government and some evil leaders pushed a bunch of stuff on us once. Shame on them. But I hope we're not so foolish enough to do it, to follow it again. Let's don't be stupid. The other day I saw somebody walk up to a young person and say, hey, what's that on your tie? And the young person went down and they flipped up their nose. And boy, you know what? If they come over and point at my tie, I'm not looking down at my tie. And I'll probably have ice cream on my tie. But you see those things happen. Well, we had the whole government literally cripple society. And people were still sick, people still died. In our church, as far as my knowledge, not one person died of COVID the whole time. We had several people die from other causes, natural causes or disease or whatever. And those who died during the COVID lockdowns, they spent their last months, some of them the last 2 years of their life, with no contact with relatives, no contact with their church, no contact with Christian friends, none of the joys of Christian fellowship. And they sat in a house, locked up, and they died anyway. You know why? Because people die. That's been going on since the beginning of time. People die. And I know we all want to live a little longer. And, when you get to that point in life, one more day is sure a good thing. But not one of our members died from COVID, unless you call it a vaccination. One member had a vaccination and a week later died of a blood clot. And some folks would tie those together. I'm not saying yay or nay, but we didn't have anybody die. And our church isn't giant, but it's big enough that if it was as terrible as everybody says, somebody should have died. But you know what? People get sick. People got well. People taught Sunday school, went to church. But the question is, how did we get so stupid as to think we should go through all that again? You've seen it. Here's somebody walking their dog with a mask on. What are they doing? Are they trying to protect the world from their breath? Are they trying to protect themselves? And if you need a mask when you're by yourself because the whole world is polluted, then what's the point of this 6 feet social distancing thing? No, it's all hypocritical. It's all nonsense. It's ridiculous. This is probably going to get kicked off of YouTube. Turn over to Rumble, and this will be on Rumble. They won't kick us off. But craziness, driving alone in a car. Here I am. I see these people alone in their car with the mask on. You're breathing through a petri dish. It's warm, moist cloth, and it's got your breath going in and out. And any germs, do we think we breathe germs out? Yeah, we sure do. And that warm breath, it's a petri dish. It's a cultivation spot. Warm, moist places grow bacteria. Anybody knows that. You don't have to be a doctor to know that. Why would I strap a petri dish on my face? But the point is, and I mentioned in church of the day, Fauci's made the statement that it is very obvious. Statistics show that the masks didn't do anything to stop COVID as a whole. But he said, I still think it's important that you follow the authorities. Well, you know what? I'm not here to follow the authorities. The authorities are here to protect my freedom. And that's why I'm here. But how did we get this stupid? How did we get medical doctors who are respected? I mean, well-respected, well-honored people in the medical world. And they were always looked up to and always used. And suddenly when they took a stand against the COVID mandates or against vaccination or whatever, instantly these people are ostracized and try to destroy them, try to get them out of their practice. In California, there were things that a doctor could say or do. They'd lose their license to practice in California. Why did they have to attack so viciously? How about a medicine that a doctor normally used? He did prescribe this medicine in certain cases, but once COVID showed up, if he prescribed that medicine to anybody, he would lose his license or be punished, however the government's going to punish him. How come a drug he could prescribe a year ago, he cannot prescribe today? If it's been used for decades with no problem, why can it not be used now? Because there's something. So the question, how did we get so stupid? How did we get, and there's all kinds of stories of falsifying documents, people shot with, and again, well, I know what the statistics say, this many people died of COVID. Don't you remember the people coming into the hospital, 8 bullet wounds, and the guy's dead, they test him for COVID. He goes in as a COVID death. Why? Because the hospital got a bunch of government money. Guy's in a car accident, squished flat between him and a semi or whatever, and he dies, tested for COVID. He's COVID positive, so he's a COVID death. Don't you believe that all these COVID deaths are COVID deaths? Do not believe it. And how many of us, all of us, I'm assuming, know people who test positive for COVID who don't even know they're sick. Whatever it is, either the test went bad, or you can have it and not know it, not have any symptoms, asymptomatic COVID carrier. You're the worst kind. All the panic and all the crap. How did we get so stupid? How about with young people? Here we've got a generation where statistically, following their science, young people don't die of COVID. That is a simple fact that the liberals put out. You look at the statistics by age. Now, there's a few who have, maybe they've got diabetes or they've got some extenuating circumstance, but young people, under 20, over 20, 30, the young people. Now, all of us, as we get older, I'm 66, I am more vulnerable to everything. I'm more vulnerable to walking. Oh, you're more vulnerable. Got to protect yourself. I do. I don't jump out of my pickup. I slip out of my pickup because I don't want to jar my knees. Of course, everything's a little harder when you get old, and the flu is worse, and pneumonia is worse, and there's all kinds of things that are worse when you get older. But the fact is, young people, basically, almost no young people died of COVID percentage-wise. And yet we've masked up our kids. We kept them home from schools, and we did. And boy, you see these poor little kids wrapped up with multiple masks and this nonsense. How do we get that stupid? The statistics don't show in any way that young people are dying, and I mean young college age. And yet there's these college students. They buy into. They always want to be a part of some cause. Save the world, wear a mask. No, save the world. Go tell people about Jesus. That might save the world. Save the world, get a conservative in the White House so we'll have business better and we'll find ourselves having some logic running our country. But how do we get this stupid? Now, let's get to the how did we get here, all right? Proverbs 1:10 or 1:7. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. Fools despise wisdom and instruction. We got into this mess, number one, by choosing sports over Sunday school. We got in this mess. How do we get this stupid? Because what happens, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. And because we put our kids in soccer and basketball and football and other kind of sports, cheerleader and whatever, instead of church and Sunday school, our kids don't have any fear of God. Without any fear of God, they have no knowledge. Consequently, we've got a generation of stupid people. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. They just don't have light. Psalm 119, the word is a lamp unto my feet and a light to my path. Our young people and our adults can't see. They can't see clearly, and so they're following blind authorities. They can't see the deception around them. If you're a church-going, Bible-reading, God-fearing person, you have better sight and better knowledge than those who don't. That's a fact. You go over to Proverbs chapter 7 or Proverbs chapter 9 and verse 10, and you see the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and the knowledge of the holy is understanding. I think I got that quoted right. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. The knowledge of the holy is understanding. And so the fear of God gives us knowledge and wisdom and understanding. So we have a generation without knowledge, without understanding, and without wisdom. Wisdom is the ability to see the end result of given behavior. And so we've got this 2-3 generations where we've replaced church and Sunday school with sports. Tell you what else, we've replaced reading the Bible at home with television and tablets. We've got kids on every kind of screen imaginable, TV to personal screens, and yet we're not reading the Bibles at home. That's how did we get so stupid? We let the TV, we used to call it the boob tube. We called it the stupid vision, the hella vision, all those, the idiot box. Those are all titles that intelligent, common Americans, though they put those titles on the TV back in the days when TV was good. So let's understand this. America got stupid because we pushed away knowledge and wisdom. Now, if you were God and you're the source of knowledge, you're the source of wisdom, you're the source of understanding, and mankind pushed you away and said, we don't want you, would you not let people get stupid? Well, of course, I'll tell you why we're stupid. We're stupid because we've pushed God out of our lives. And we have chosen, we've become a society, me first, me too, mine, I want my rights, and I've not been treated right, and I am a victim of society, and we have fed the last generation especially. We've turned this last generation into a me-centered culture, and it's supposed to be God-centered. And when we decide to take God out of the center and put him over there and put man in the center, you know what God's going to do? He's going to say, you just go right ahead. You can go without the light of my word. You can go without wisdom. You can go without understanding. You can go without knowledge. And you are going to be a stupid society. And that is how we got so stupid. So what do? Get back in church, a Bible preaching church. Get back to reading our Bibles on our own, reading our Bibles to our children. Shut off the idiot box and get into church. And don't let sports become more important than Jesus. And don't let sports become more important than Sunday school, Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night. Be in church, teach a Sunday school class, go out on soul winning and visitation, live a decent Christian life, then lift your eyes to heaven and say, God, we need you. And maybe we'll find some mercy, and God will give us light, and God will give us wisdom, and God will give us knowledge, and God will give us understanding. The wicked, they go astray from the womb speaking lies. But the Bible says righteousness exalteth a nation. Hey, it's up to us. What do we want? I don't know about you, but I want God. I want God all over this place. Hope you have a great day and a great week. Let's be good stewards, time, talent, and treasure.